Sometimes we have chords that look like this, and sometimes we have chords that look like this. Now some of you may be wondering, what do these chords mean? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what that means. Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Nick. If you're new here, I'm a Brooklyn-based guitarist, and today I'm going to be talking about what exactly is a slash chord. So as you saw just a second ago, you have these slash chords that have two letters. It has like one letter, a slash, and then another chord. Essentially, the way you read it is from left to right. So for example, if you have a chord that says G over F, that means you have a G triad over an F bass note. So the little slash means over. Now sometimes these chords function as chord inversions, but when the note on the right of the slash is not a chord tone, then it functions a little differently. Slash chords are also not to be confused with polychords, which look very similar, but they're really different in quality. And I'll be talking a little bit about polychords at the end, so stick around if you want to hear about that. So generally there are two ways that slash chords can function. One is an inversion or as their own chord. Either way, it's a triad over a certain bass note, and let's take a look at some of them. So in the case that it would be an inversion, it would be something like G over B or G over D, where B and D are the chord tones of G major. So essentially the way to play them is that we have a G major triad, G, B, D. So as an example, let's try B. Here we have B, G, B, D. And then we can put D on the bottom, D, G, B, D. They both still sound like G major chords because we're playing the notes of the G major chords and we're used to hearing that G major chord. Now for the second category, these go a little deeper. So usually whenever we hear a chord, we hear it in terms of the lowest tone. So for example, if I played you a C major chord, and I put an A on the bottom, this now becomes A, C, E, G, which is an A minor 7 chord, so that changes the quality of this. I talked a little bit about this in my video, Modes from Bright to Dark, where I looked at it from a modal perspective. Now we're going to look at it simply from a triadic perspective, although the two are related. So as an example of this, let's take the chord G over A, where we have a G triad over an A bass note. Now A is not normally in the G chord, so we have a little bit of a different sound now. So now we're going to analyze the chord from the perspective of A, and we're going to check the intervallic relationships between A and all the notes in the G major triad. From A to G, we have a minor 7th interval. Then from A to B, we have a 9. And then from A to D, we have a perfect 4th interval. So this gives us an A9 sus4 chord where we're omitting the 5th. This works really well for a mixolydian or like a dominant sound. Another example would be G over F sharp. Now this could be seen as an inversion of G major 7 because F sharp is a 7 of G, but we can analyze it from the perspective of F sharp. Let's see what we have. So from F sharp to G, we have a flat 9 or a flat 2, depending on how you voice it. Then we have a B, which is the perfect 4th, and then we have a D, which is a flat 6. So we sort of have a sus4 chord with the 5th omitted, and then we also have the flat 9 and the flat 6, which are tension tones. So essentially what we have here is an ideal Phrygian chord. It's a really dark sound and it's a really different taste. It doesn't really sound like G major anymore. Another cool one is G over A flat. This one's really dissonant sounding. It doesn't sound at all like a G major chord. Let's look at the intervals. So from A flat to G, we have a major 7. Then from A flat to B, we have a minor 3rd. And then from A flat to D, we have a flat 5. So if we take out the G, we just have a diminished triad. So essentially we have a diminished triad with a major 7. I would call this A flat diminished major 7. Now it's a weird sound, but if you're looking at the A flat diminished scale, you'll notice that there is in fact a G natural in that scale, so we can actually use that and use a chord scale of A flat diminished. Really interesting sound. And now finally the moment you've all been waiting for, polychords. So essentially what a polychord is sticking two separate different triads on top of each other. So an example of that would be C over D flat. On the guitar I like to voice it like this, where I actually invert it and put the A flat on the bottom. So this would technically be C major over D flat major over A flat, the bass note. So we have this sound. Now let's look at the intervals of all these notes in relation to D flat. So we have D flat, which is the root, we have A flat, which is the perfect 5th, and we have F, which is the 3rd, right? Because we have D flat major triads, we're gonna have the notes in a D flat major triad. Then we're gonna have G, so G in relation to D flat is a sharp 4 or sharp 11. Then C is gonna be the major 7, and then E is gonna be the minor 3rd. Although we already have the F natural, which is the major 3rd, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and call that a sharp 9. So whenever we play this chord, we have an ideal D flat major 7 sharp 9 sharp 11 chord or Lydian sharp 9 chord. Linear sharp 9 is the 6th mode of harmonic minor, which I talked about in my video, Modes of Harmonic Minor. So if you want to know more about that, check out that video. I give a little bit of context with this chord, and I show you actually one song that uses this chord, and it sounds really cool. So that's about all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I'm making new videos every Monday and Thursday, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.